Thousands of players all hit the same brick wall. They get stuck in the mid-game. If you've ever told yourself that you're just bad at PvM, this is the video for you. Getting stuck in the mid-game has become a bit of a meme in the community at this point, but for good reason. Until recently, the difficulty curve in this game has been insane. I'm going to show you how, with some recent changes to the game and the right attitude adjustment, you can prepare yourself to send any content in the game. You can justify your lack of progress however you like. Maybe you're scared of wasting money on supplies and death fees. Maybe you've been watching sweaty guides and PvM looks way harder than it actually is. Or maybe you're just comfortable where you are, and if that's true, fair enough, who am I to judge? But you've clicked this video because you want to get out of that rut and actually start sending some content. I'm no tick-perfect Giga Chad gamer myself, but I've got a few kills at least on most bosses in the game, and I'm cutting out the bullshit and showing you honestly how I got here and what's held me back. I thought PvM was impossible, but there's no hidden secret that the sweats are hiding. PvM in this game isn't easy, but getting better is a simple process. Like any new skill, start small and scale up. So let's go right back to the start. I wasn't progressing because I wasn't really trying. My first real breakthrough showed me that PvM was actually possible. Before January 2024, there was basically no real on-ramp content to teach players how to PvM, and honestly, a lot of players didn't really want there to be. They'd already suffered through the learning process, so why shouldn't everyone else? But with Jagex deciding that it was absolutely essential for the longevity of the game for an early game learner boss to be added, Scurrius changed everything. The fire cape has always been a huge goal for me, but the idea of spending an hour in the fight caves just to die and get nothing was so demotivating. I didn't understand how to switch prayers properly. I didn't even know how brews and restores worked. If you saw my stats or gear, I'd seem like your average mid-game player. But if we're talking about actually being able to play the game and achieve anything, I was a complete noob. I was massively over-leveled for Scurrius, but when it dropped, I got on it straight away. Once you consider the cost of a few prayer potions, I wouldn't be surprised if I lost money at this boss. But it gave me things that were way more valuable: knowledge, patience, and confidence. I learnt movement, prayer switching, the basic mechanics, and suddenly the fight caves didn't feel impossible anymore, so I decided to send it. And after 5 attempts, I got my fire cape. Without Scurrius, I genuinely think it would have taken me 50. Beating Jad taught me mechanical lessons like pathing, safe spots, and inventory management, but the biggest lesson was not mechanical, it was psychological. I learned that dying's part of the process. Fight caves is actually the perfect place to learn this. Your death is free, the only real cost is supplies. There's no reason not to just show up in your best gear and try. And once I stopped focusing on success as the metric that really mattered and started focusing on learning, PvM really stopped feeling impossible. If any of this is resonating with you, please like the video and subscribe if you want to see more from me. Any engagement helps my content to reach the people who need to see it most. I appreciate it. Getting my fire cape proved that goals that seem impossible initially can be achievable with some persistence, but it still didn't feel like something I could do regularly. The fire cape is an amazing one-time unlock, but it's not going to build your bank or get you geared up for the rest of the game. My next real goal was the quest cape, and part of that journey was Dragon Slayer 2. This quest was different. I wasn't just running errands and space-barring dialogue, it forced you into real boss fights. Vorkarth, then Galvik, and a bunch of mini-bosses in between. Proper bosses with real mechanics that you needed to learn if you wanted to finish the quest. Both of these bosses wrecked me repeatedly. Jad was unforgiving, but realistically there was only one thing to mess up: prayer switching. These bosses were something else. There were multiple mechanics happening at once: movement, positioning, reacting quickly, and if you got it wrong, you were sent back to Lumbridge. You couldn't brute force it, you actually had to engage with the fight and learn. Eventually, after enough failed attempts, I did get the kills and finish the quest. The difference between failure and success here wasn't any shiny new gear or even higher stats. It was just increased exposure, practice. I got better at the game. Either way, it was another major step towards the quest cape. But Dragon Slayer 2 also unlocked something else: post-quest Vorkarth. This was my first real repeatable boss. Not a one-time challenge like the fight caves, but something I could farm whenever I wanted. And my early kills were brutal. Dozens of deaths, millions lost on supplies and death fees. It genuinely felt like I was going backwards. This is that point that I talked about where most players convince themselves that PvM just isn't for them. But I kept going back and slowly things started to click. As you improve, you die less. When you die less, you spend less, and every drop starts becoming actual profit. Before long, I was stacking tens of millions of GP. My bank was growing, and those early death costs didn't matter anymore. Vorkarth wasn't just teaching me mechanics, he was funding my progression. Every shiny new piece of gear I bought either made money making more efficient or unlocked new content for me to try. But the most basic thing he taught me was this: you probably shouldn't just be sending a PvM encounter once and then moving on. Anyone can scrape through a kill. You can just learn the basics and get through it, and yeah, sometimes that's enough. But when you're grinding for GP, making things more efficient by cleaning up your kills is usually worth it. Even 10 seconds per kill adds up to hours over a long enough time span, and RuneScape is a long game. Getting that cash stack and mastering my first real boss was when PvM stopped feeling like a wall and started feeling like an open pathway with dozens of routes towards the end game. And the only thing that got me there was setting myself those goals and persisting until I got there. Up until this point, raids was something I never seriously considered. They weren't for players like me. If you took a look at the wiki, the advised gear was always way out of my price range and the stats were way above my level. That's without even considering the dozens of mechanics that you'd have to learn to deal with. Raids looked like content that was reserved for top tier players that knew exactly what they were doing, not a noob like me that had only just stopped dying to Vorkarth every single trip 5 minutes ago. Even watching guides made them feel overwhelming, it all felt completely out of reach. But Tombs of Amascut really changed that. TOA introduced something the game never had before: scalable difficulty. You could start on entry mode, there were fewer mechanics and everything was way more forgiving. It wasn't designed to punish you for your mistakes, it was designed to give you a gradual on-ramp to mastering the content. Raids weren't a brick wall anymore. Just like any content when tackling it for the first time, my runs were messy, but the difference was you can just keep trying here. If you die at Vorkarth or Zulrah, it feels like a failure. You lose money, you lose supplies, you feel like you've made a mistake. TOA gives you unlimited retries for absolutely nothing and even replenishes some of your supplies when you die, obviously depending on your invocations. Every single attempt I understood something new, and that snowballs fast. As I picked up all the mechanics in entry mode, I could start introducing more invocations. And as I got to grips with those, the confidence boost from seeing that invocation go up from entry to normal mode was game changing for me. This is when raids stopped feeling like something other people did and really made me feel like I was actually getting somewhere. It was a massive mental shift. It opened up the other raids and other tough solo bosses as an option in my head. Because raids has always represented the endgame for me, the place only the best players ever reached, and now I was there. Not because I suddenly became an amazing player overnight, but because I showed up, failed, learnt, tried again. And look, I'm still not an amazing player right now, I'm still learning every day. But for me, once raids stopped feeling impossible, everything in the game felt achievable too. You might have heard players talk about the golden age of Old School RuneScape. I believe that the release of Tombs of Amascut was the start of that. More people are playing than ever, and that's all down to how accessible PvM is now. Tombs of Amascut was the first real bridge content between the mid-game and the end game, but we still didn't have many bosses to solidify the basic skills you needed. But then we got a big wave of new bosses: Perilous Moons, Hubicotal, Royal Titans, and for the first time, there was content coming into the game that I didn't find intimidating. A year earlier, I wouldn't have even tried these bosses. I would have looked at the wiki, seen the recommended gear, and told myself to come back later. But after my experience at TOA, I felt ready for anything, even though I probably wasn't. No guides, no overthinking, just sending it and working things out as I go. Sure, I died, probably more than I would have if I'd spent 3 hours studying guides. But sending a boss and reacting to mechanics teaches you why you're doing something, instead of just following a step-by-step recipe. Learning why things work is the most important thing. Anyone can memorize a list and click the right place at the right time with enough practice, but some bosses don't work like that, especially if you're tackling them when they first launch. The meta just isn't there yet. Every new boss helped me brush up on different areas. Huey was about simple prayer management and avoiding basic floor damage. Moons has a massive focus on movement and timing. Royal Titans is the ultimate introduction to gear switching. Brushing up on these skills in a more forgiving environment than a raid is what helps you to learn to stay calm. There's no shame in doing learner content, it's literally what it's there for. If I could do all of these bosses, what was holding me back from taking on stuff at the next level? The first real skill check that left me properly stuck for a long time was the Desert Treasure 2 bosses. I've got people in my Discord server raging because they've died 4 or 5 times to one of these bosses. I'm not exaggerating when I say each one killed me dozens of times. It took me weeks to fully complete this quest. These bosses don't let you get away with anything. Whisperer, Leviathan, Vardorvis, and Duke. If you lose focus at any of these bosses for even a second, you'll know about it. We've had a taste of that before. Vorkarth can absolutely one-bang you if you don't know what you're doing. But DT2 is different. There's so much more going on, more mechanics, more pressure, and more ways to make mistakes that instantly snowball. And at first, that was rough. This was the first proper setback since the fight caves that really made me think, is this game actually for me? That thought creeps in when you're stuck on something that feels just out of reach. But instead of forcing it, I stepped away. I went and did something else and came back when I was actually in the mood to try again. In RuneScape, muscle memory is everything, and that takes a long time to build. Desert Treasure 2 forced me to slow down and actually think about what I was doing wrong. Simple stuff helped more than I expected it to. Recording attempts, watching my deaths back, seeing exactly where I panic, where I misclicked, where I switched too late, it keeps you all accountable. It's easy to blame lag or call something bullshit, but it's much harder to do that when you can literally see yourself messing it up live on cam. None of these bosses are impossible, but they do expose your weaknesses and force you to fix them. You can't rely on luck, you really do have to earn these kills. Trust me, if I can do them, you can too. Going for a quest cape had been my goal from the start, and after DT2, I finally got it. With that, every boss in the game was unlocked. The entire world was open to me. Any boss was an option. That's why quests matter so much in this game. RuneScape is a sandbox, but quests give you direction and push you into content you'd otherwise avoid that'll eventually force you to improve. So, for me, once the quest cape was done, what was next? Up until this point, most of my PvM progression had been driven by unlocks. The fire cape, all of the cool stuff you get from quests, but after finishing Desert Treasure 2, that changed. For the first time, there wasn't anything telling me what I had to do next. So, instead of chasing unlocks, I started chasing difficulty. I went back to Tombs of Amascut. We took it easy, gradually upping that invocation level, just like we talked about earlier, but pushing it even higher, even more mechanics, even less room for mistakes. Things that used to feel impossible were now just the next step up. And that confidence carried over to other content. Bosses like Yama and Doom came out. These were marketed as endgame bosses. They were not things I would have even considered before, and to be honest, with Doom specifically, I probably had no right to be here anyway. I died way too many times live on stream going for a Delve 8 clear. But as always, if you want to do something, just send it and learn from those mistakes. Every mechanic in both Yama and Doom is pretty much just something from an earlier fight reskinned and presented to you in a slightly different way. I'd built up my toolbox learning other bosses, and I was ready to put those tools to good use to get the job done. The only extra thing I needed was persistence and patience. I even started attempting stuff like the Colosseum, and to be clear, I didn't walk in and complete it straight away. I'm still working towards my quiver right now, but getting it done wasn't really the point. Excuse the cliche, but it's about the journey, not the destination. If you don't like learning, struggling, and overcoming obstacles, maybe the game isn't for you, or maybe I'm being a bit of a drama queen. Nobody suddenly becomes some insane gamer overnight. You learn from your failures, seek help when you need it, and practice, just like any other skill. PvM shouldn't be something you're scared of losing at. If you're not excited about learning content, you're doing it wrong. I'm still learning every time I pick up the game, slowly progressing in the Colosseum, sending a theatre of blood with the boys, working towards my Deathless TOA ornament kits. I am not a cracked player yet. And honestly, I work a full-time job, have a wife, a dog, make YouTube videos, try and hit the gym and practice guitar. I don't think I've got the time on my hands to become the next Wooks. But if I just focus on getting better and fixing the little mistakes that get me killed every time I tackle new content, everything is achievable eventually. I'll never be the most efficient speedrunner, but I don't have to be. My goal isn't to be the best. I just want to see and experience all of the content this game has to offer. And you can join me on my journey live on Twitch. We go live a couple of times every week. I love chatting to you guys. It's always great to hear that a guide that I've made has helped you out. And if streaming isn't your thing, we've got an awesome clan filled with all sorts of players. Plenty of them are much better than me, and we're always willing to take people to learn a new raid or tackle other group content. Remember, I'm no PvM god, but I am able to give most content a good go, and that sure beats standing around at the bank putting everything off because I'm scared my stats or gear aren't good enough. The only difference between me then and me now is that I finally decided to try, and you can too. It's a game, you've just got to play it. If you've enjoyed the video, please drop me a like and subscribe if you want to see more from me. And as always, a massive thank you to my YouTube members and Twitch subscribers. I appreciate your support. My community shout out of the week goes to Enske Big GZ on the 15kc scythe on your Iron Man. That is insane, brother. RIP Aztacs. Sorry, bro. Thanks for sticking around. I'll see you next time.
Oh my god, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? I'm ham, bro. I'm the top king, bro. 2 scythes and under 40 KC. Under 40 KC. I have like... What the fuck? What the fuck? Oh my god, I'm him, bro. Oh my fucking god, I'm him, bro.